Let me give you a brief introduction of a person I am going to be interviewing today. It's gonna be a little bit long, but I'll try to shorten it. Minsan yun ang problema ko sa mga magagaling na tao. Masyadong mahaba introduction. Kulang ang time. But I'm gonna condense this a little bit. He's a serial entrepreneur, a brand builder, a visionary behind the Henry Hotels. This is the pioneering boutique hotel brand in the Philippines. And within such a short span of time, the properties have won numerous awards and accolades. And competing against the established hospitality giants, he has brought his properties to consistently win TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice and Certificate of Excellence awards. And not only that, he has within his sight to open more properties all over the country. Now, he is also the current president of EO. EO is Entrepreneurs Organization, a very respected organization comprising entrepreneurs. And now this is what's going to surprise you. Well, before venturing into hospitality, our speaker today and our guest today, special guest, co-founded a food chain called Yellow Cap Pizza Company in 2001 and was owner until 2011. Then he sold to a listed company. At that time, Yellow Cab was the fastest growing pizza chain all over the Philippines with 80 stores, not only in the Philippines, but they have their presence in the US, Malaysia, and Qatar. And so I'd like you and I to if we can clap our hands like this, that's what I'm doing. Let's welcome Henry Hanky Lee III. Hi, Hanky. How are you?
Hi, Francis. Thank you for having me here on Pocket Mentor.
Well, it's a pleasure. Let me give you a background story. One day when my daughter boss came to me, Rachel, and she says, "Dad, look at this. This is the gentleman we'll be interviewing." I got so excited, not only because I'm going to come in up close and personal with somebody who is so successful in what he does, but because I have been your client, both in your past business and your current one.
Thank you very much for that, Francis.
Yeah. Well, are you ready? Because I'm going to be throwing you a lot of questions, and I'm sure our viewers and our listeners will be learning a lot from this. Are you ready, Hanky?
Yes, I'm ready. Ready.
Sige. First, let me give you a little story. I would bring my family there to Yellow Cab and order my favorite Dear Darla, and that's one of your best sellers during those times, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that entered my mind was, look at this store, unique on concept, very creative interiors. There's something different about this one. In other words, the interior, the products, the decor, the concept was so creatively done. So I'm going to ask you a question now, Hanky.
Sure.
You were with your partners. What particular major role did you play when you were with the food business at that time?
So when we were together in Yellow Cab, what we did was we divided up the different departments, so to speak. So I was in charge of business development, basically, where I was in charge of expansion, and then I was also a part of HR. So I took care of our people, and the third is I also took care of finance. So it's a bit of soft skills, with people. And then a bit of hard skill with finance.
So you are a mixture of everything now. Yeah. And what made you guys think about entering the food business in the first place?
Oh, we were, just a backgrounder. Before we entered into Yellow Cab, we were also franchisees of a national Chinese food chain. It's called Hanky. Yeah, we were franchisees, and actually that's where the three of us met. And being entrepreneurs, our minds are always at work and saying, maybe there's more to this Chinese Chowking, and maybe there's another something else we can do there, and then we got together, and then Yellow Cab was born.
Yes. I have two questions in relationship to that, Hanky, which is this.
Sure.
You know, uh, ang utak kasi ng isang entrepreneur malikot yan eh, di ba? Consistently looking for opportunities, questioning the status, how do we improve this, how are we gonna explore further opportunities. And here's a question I want to ask you. Did you grow up with a family background of business people that has formed the kind of mindset you had even when you entered your food business?
Yeah. So actually, I'd like to say that I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur.
Oh.
My great grandfather, who came from at that time from China,
Mm-mm.
he set up his own copra trading business in Bicol. So and imagine that he made it well there, and then he came to Manila during World War II and sold surplus. And that was really the start. My grandfather was also an entrepreneur who set up a automotive distribution business. My father was also an entrepreneur who also was into automotive spare parts, and then me.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now
So
they came from they came from Copra and then automotive, and then you went into food.
and into food. Yeah.
Where's the connection there?
No connection whatsoever. It's really about it's really as you mentioned, Francis. It's really about diba, finding opportunities, right? So
That's correct.
So I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think that's you're kind of I was kind of wired like that. It's really looking for opportunities in the marketplace. Looking, are there gaps in the marketplace, and then trying to fill those gaps.
Yes. And did you ever have any formal corporate career or experience?
Oh yes, 6 months.
Oh, 6 months.
That was called the OJT, Francis.
Now I'm about to ask you a very sensitive question. 6 months lang, because you were not regularized, or you felt like this is not the world for you.
Yeah. So inunahan ko na sila bago ko ma-regularize. I said, "Oh, my OJT period is up. It's okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye."
Yeah, malikot kasi talaga yung utak ng mga negosyante. The second question connected to that, which I'm going to ask you, a lot of people say, no, I'm going to give up my corporate work. Ayoko na rito. I want to enter into business. I want to be an entrepreneur, because if I'm a business person, I will have more time for myself. Is that true?
You can always be an entrepreneur in wherever you are.
Okay.
But they have a saying na it's called intrapreneur, diba? So even if you're entrepreneur, so even if you are within your company, if you're working in your company, you're also given resources, diba, at your disposal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's true. That's
true. So you can be also, the way I look at it is, you can also be creative with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And market and steward those resources properly. So you can be also an entrepreneur within the corporate setting.
Yeah, that's so true. In other words, you can be working in a big company, or in any size company actually, but by developing an entrepreneurial mindset towards the way you work. You're saying that too.
Yes. Agreed. Correct.
And when you were in the food business and I was your client and I would bring my family there. Now, what really delights me is to be surprised in finding out that now that you are with the Henry Hotels, I'm still your client. I mean, I'm connected with Primer, and I've been invited to do engagements there. And the second time I went there, I sat on their board already. And what fascinated me was, in the first place, I have to be honest with you, I had to find out where the location was. Your hotel is not located in the regular locations where the big hotels are, and it took me a little time to find it. But once I entered that place, it's like me being propelled to another time capsule or another world. And I said, this is so different. And did you intentionally design your hotel that way?
No, actually, I'd like to say the word serendipity, right? You know,
Uh-huh.
locations like that, kasi where you said that it's an oasis, it's a sanctuary. No, our hotel
Yes.
kasi diba, is in the side street of EDSA, right? So it's
Uh-huh.
a location that you would never think.
Yeah.
And it's really, I mean, I just found it where it is, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
basically, if you think about it, it's like a unpolished diamond, and then I polished it. If it were in a location, let's say that were more prime, Francis, like maybe
Oh,
let's say
oh.
along EDSA talaga, that
Yes,
that
yes.
that that place would have already been maybe sold, no?
Mm-hmm.
And a tall high rise building will already be there, right?
Mm-mm.
So it just I'm
Mm-mm.
just so for me it just I'm so lucky that I was able to find that it's
Mm-mm.
just off EDSA, so not that far from it.
Oh, so that also would dispel the typical myth into saying that even when the market is already crowded, you can still find a particular niche. And because when you enter the boutique hotel industry, number one, it is a pioneering work. Now,
Yes.
not there, people were not so familiar with what a boutique hotel is, and I'd like you to explain a little bit about that. And secondly, the big players were already there, and yet you were able to enter and then did very, very well. How does that fit into an entrepreneurial approach into discovering an opportunity that seems to be occupied by the big players and then yet being successful at that?
Yeah, as as entrepreneurs talaga, it's sometimes, it's really, you feel like you're swimming upstream, because
Yes.
you live in, your world is there. There's so many giants that are there, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
hence that's why it's called the niche. No, so I
Hmm.
found that, like I mentioned that a while ago, finding a gap, right? So I think I was
Yes.
able to
Yes.
find a gap in the
Yes.
hospitality space of hotels, Francis, and
Right. Right.
that gap was for me what boutique hotels, no.
Uh-huh.
But the notion of people with, especially in the Philippines, about boutique hotels is, kasi maliit na hotel lang yan eh. Then kagad, that's why it's a boutique hotel, no. So
Yes.
for us, well, that's one part. That's one part
Yes.
of the equation. But the other part
Uh-huh.
for us, that makes it a
Uh,
truly boutique hotel is what we call experiences like no other. No?
oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Diba? So
So, mm-mm.
as Francis, sorry to cut you there, but it's really about, experiences, no. So
Mm-mm.
other the giants, right? Diba? So you're just maybe you are just a room, see room 515 or something like that. So
Oh,
here
oh, 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 oh.
diba, here with us, we
Yeah.
define experiences like no other three ways. We have
Yeah.
three brand pillars.
Oh,
Uh,
oh.
Leveraging on the Filipino,
Yes.
celebrating the Philippines and sense of place. So
Okay.
those are the three things that we use to define our experiences like no other.
I might have missed you a little bit because of sound difficulty, but you
Okay.
were saying three. Can you say the three things again?
Yeah. So the three things are, we call them our brand pillars, or the three P's. So
Yes.
the first one is sense of place, and then
Uh-huh.
the second one is people, leveraging on the
Yes.
Filipino, and then the
Yes.
third is Philippines, celebrating the Philippines,
Oh, okay.
and that's
That's great.
the brand who we are. That's our essence, basically.
Good, good. And apparently it has worked for you. And this is, let me sidetrack a little bit. There are entrepreneurs and you have been called and referred to as a serial entrepreneur. Now that made me a little bit uncomfortable. I've heard of serial killers, but serial entrepreneur, I know the meaning, but I'd like you to explain it a little bit. What's the difference between a typical entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur?
Uh, Basically, for me, the way I define a serial entrepreneur is, you keep on creating businesses, you keep on doing it,
Mm-mm.
right?
Yes,
There
yes,
was, when after we sold Kasi Yellow Cab, there
yes.
was an opportunity for me to just what people call LOI.
Yeah, live off the interest.
Just just live off interest, right? And
Interest, yeah.
but for me, I mean, what's a life? What's a life like that, right? You just live off interest. You get
Yes,
back.
yes.
You're not making a
Mm-hmm.
difference or making a mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I continued on and created a new business.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped into something technically I knew nothing about, Francis. It's really my OJT is only 6 months, di ba? Yeah.
But that's
So
so fulfilling, no? Very
it is
fulfilling.
fulfilling. We,
Right.
our purpose is clear, our vision is clear,
Yes. Yes.
and really
Yeah.
that drives us and the whole team.
Oh. And then because you are an entrepreneur, you are the leader, how do you look at yourself and how would you consider yourself as a leader in all your businesses naman? What would be the most important qualities for you to function as an effective leader in your businesses?
It's to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here. I'm a leader. The way I look at leadership, and it's changed my way. No, about maybe probably 5 years ago. It changed
Oh,
my lead. Being in an organization like I think you mentioned before in EO,
yes.
changed my way about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership used to be for me, like wow, diba? Oh, lahat tayo nisip, oh, we rise the ranks, diba? We go up the ranks,
Yes,
diba?
yes.
And
Yeah.
then when we're on the top, we're like Superman,
Yeah.
right? But, I'm the boss, right? So
Yeah.
that was my version of leadership from top down,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
basically it's
Mm-hmm.
people serving me, right? but
Yes,
but
that's true.
I learned that it's more effective actually if
Mm-hmm.
I am the leader, but I
Yes.
still serve. I serve the ones who are under me. I serve them, I
Yes.
support them, I try to make them better versions of themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really for me the payback has been bigger compared to me just being on the pinnacle of things, saying you do this, you do
Yes.
that, you do this, so
Yeah. Oh. 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 Now, uh, if I happen to be working for you in your businesses, I mean everything you say I have to follow. But what would make you effective as a leader, not only to enforce things that I do have to follow, but for me to effectively provide the service that and the performance that you are expecting from me, coming from you?
yeah, so sa akin the way the Francis is, 'di ba, the way I practice yung leadership is, yeah, it's I also listen. I I
Yes.
I don't just bark out, this is what I think needs to be done. Do it, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Right,
I also
right.
listen. I give them I give my, let's say in this case, the mancom of the Henry. I I listen to them. I give them leeway to
Hmm.
also think about, that's why they're there, diba? If all the
Yes.
answers came from me, I wouldn't need
Uh-huh.
them. Why would I need them, right?
Mhm.
So
That's so true.
so so there. It's really them also being able to think for themselves and them being able to come up with recommendations to help the
Hmm.
business. But the idea is
And
I pour myself into them. I don't I don't skimp on learning. Whatever I know, uh,
uh-huh.
I share
Oh, have you
without.
ever made mistakes?
Sorry.
No, this is a very this seems to be a very amateurish question. But as a leader, leaders like you and me, we make mistakes. And how do you deal with the mistakes you've made as far as dealing with your people are concerned?
You apologize. I mean, if I, one of the traits also that I learned is vulnerability.
Yes.
If you're able, I used to view vulnerability as a weakness, actually,
Uh-huh.
but
Yes.
now I see vulnerability as a strength. When you
Hmm.
are when you are vulnerable, kasi it shows that you don't know all the answers, because we really don't, diba, Francis? I mean, we don't know
Mm.
all the answers, right? So that's why we need them. And
Yes.
to show vulnerability is also for me, when I show that, I see the team more or less more willing to help or gathering around me, or so more or less, circling the wagons and supporting me also. And I see a lot of them step up because of that. So
that's
it's
true.
very positive.
So on the other side of the coin, your people now begin to look at you as si boss pala, human din naman siya eh. Nakakamali rin. But
I
he
am
owns up to the mistake, right?
I am
And
with emotions, Francis, also, and weakness. Diba? I'm not perfect.
oo nga. Sabi ko nga, most leaders, when they make a mistake, there are three most important words that they will have to tell their people. And the three most important words are, it's your fault. Now, that's going to be a big, big problem. It's so easy to just say, I'm sorry, I own the mistake. Pero parang ang hirap-hirap ng mga leaders. Ano?
Yeah.
Pero you're so right. Vulnerability is the best office and agency to build up credibility. And when we do, the people will work as one with us. And have you ever had cases wherein you have this brilliant idea, and then you have your people there and you meet, only to have your people shoot down your idea, and then they come up with a better one? Have you ever had those moments?
I have lots of ideas all the time. And it's actually, these ideas, I actually this morning I had a meeting with them. So we talked about other revenue streams for the brand. So I threw out what I thought was a good idea, but actually one of my managers came back with actually a well thought through and better idea pa, diba? It's galing.
Is this your being a servant leader to your company? Does this stem from your HR role when you were still with the food business? Kaya you would tend to be conscious about things like this. May kinalaban kaya doon?
To be honest, at that time when I was doing HR, it was really about for me listening. It wasn't. For me, that's where I kind of learned how to listen, because I listened to our employees, their concerns and challenges at that time. But that's not actually where I learned servant leadership. It was only about 5 years ago when I joined this or EO. So that's where I learned it. Yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna bring you back to the Henry hotels, and you have Dumaguete. What are the other areas wherein you are operating now, apart from Manila and Dumaguete?
So right now we have 2 properties that are operational: Manila and Cebu.
And then we Cebu.
In Cebu City. And then we have Dumaguete. You're right, which is supposed to open in a week's time, but we have to delay also because of
yes.
And then our other locations where we have property or joint ventures is all in the touristic locations in the Philippines. Like in Palawan, there's El Nido, San Vicente, Coron. We have Siargao.
Wow.
There. So we have Bohol also. So we're really betting strong on leisure tourism.
You are the perfect person that we have today, because I'm going to throw you a question that would probably be entertaining the minds of our listeners and viewership. And this is the question. One of the hardest hit industry because of the virus is tourism. And you are right smack in the middle of that industry that is the hardest hit. So what are your views on this? And how do you still maintain your positive disposition, even though you are right in the middle of the hardest hit industry? And what ideas and how do you see yourself and your business happening, even when this virus issue settles now?
So you're right. We are the hardest hit. Leisure tourism is it's one of the industries that will pick up kind of the last, right? But my mindset here is this too shall come to pass. It is really right now, what do we need to do to survive in the interim, right?
Yes.
So it's about changing of we thought about changing target market, right? So before our markets
Yes.
were foreigners, tourists. So now
Mm-hmm.
it's different.
Yes.
It's now business process outsourcing or government
Mm-hmm.
offices near our properties, or even helping those our stranded OFWs are coming home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
They are.
so it's a bit of a pivot and then changing in terms of the target market, but
Mm-hmm.
really it's we hotels are never really just like restaurants. Hotels are not 4 years you invest and then in 4 or 5 years there's already payback. Hotels
Mm-hmm.
are in general long-term businesses
Long term.
where
Yes. Yes.
10
That's true.
years 12 years before, even sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even 15 years before payback, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you
That's
take
true.
that view that it is a long-term
Uh-huh.
business, no, and if you take that view
Uh-huh.
also that COVID is short term,
Yes.
maybe 6 months or
Uh-huh.
maybe up to end of the year, then
Mm-hmm.
the idea is how can I survive this period, right?
Okay. Yes,
And if
that's
I
true.
survive that period, maybe there are opportunities again. Sorry, an entrepreneur na naman.
Yes.
Maybe there are
Oh.
opportunities in this space again for
Mm-hmm.
us if we are to survive this.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So one of the most important things for entrepreneur right now is to maintain a positive disposition and to remain calm. And I remember, alam mo, Harty, one time I was listening to Rudy Giuliani right after 911, and he shared something in a conference I attended, and he said, when there's a crisis and there's a fire, as a leader, you got to make sure you're the calmest person inside the burning place. And he says, would you like to know the reason why? We all said, why? He says, because the calmest person during the fire will be the only person who can see where the fire exit will be. and, and in other words, you got to maintain calmness even when everything seems to be falling apart right now. And because unprecedented events like this will bring in unprecedented problems, but it will also open up to unprecedented opportunities. That's how an entrepreneur would think, isn't it? Right.
Yes, yes,
And
I fully agree there. Yeah.
yeah. And here's another thing that I'd like to share with you, and I'd like to get your viewpoints here. We are operating as business owners, you and I. We are operating on limited information and development from day to day, wherein we are currently making short term decisions and we can't really think long term because we don't have the right picture yet. So I've been telling my clients and I've been telling my people, we are liable to make wrong decisions and we are liable to have to pivot from one decision. Suddenly we change track and then we got to change again. Is that what you expect also that will happen within the next few months to come?
Actually, yung example, let's take ECQ for example, right? So right
Okay.
now we're on lockdown until April 30,
Hmm.
right?
Yes. Hmm.
But we've been hearing talk about extended or modified, right? So you're right that the situation now is very fluid.
Hmm.
But as entrepreneurs also we take that limited information and try to digest it as much as we can and see maybe slight maneuvering in terms of okay
Yes.
how we can move forward, right? So
Yes.
but pivot in such a way that there is like go out of the business or change direction, change direction, like 180 degree. I think
Hmm.
that would be a bit hard or foolish at this
Hmm.
time, right?
That's
So
so
that's why
true.
I go back to my it's really survival, understanding what do we need to survive. So understanding what do we need to survive for the next 6 months. No, for
Hmm.
us, it's up to December actually. What do
Hmm.
we need to understanding how much we need to survive until December, and
Hmm.
basically hopefully by then the clouds would have cleared a little bit, and then so
Yes. Yes.
forward.
Yes. Yes. Here's a very important question. What keeps you busy now during this lockdown?
Oh, it's actually, and I've never been so busy in my life. I mean, so, I've never been so
Yeah.
busier. Actually,
Yeah.
it's no. So actually now the one that's keeping me calm is actually my family.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the word I use there is basics. In when we're all together in
Uh-huh.
one space, you realize that you don't need too much in life. As long as
Oo
your
nga
wife
eh.
is with you, they're healthy, your kids are with you,
Mhm.
you're healthy, and then you're playing together, you're spending time together, you're
Yes.
eating together. They're learning how to eat fish and
Right.
vegetables. I mean, that's you know, um,
Oo nga eh.
diba? They get to learn also new things. I also get to learn new things. Like I would never. I mean, this doing this pocket mentor with you, Francis, is something that I would never have done. I would never have done. But it's
That's so
also
true.
it's also trying to in this lockdown is trying to improve myself, right? So
Yes,
since
that's so
we're
true.
all here in
Yeah.
this space, read a book, um,
Yeah.
do something productive. When you watch, let's say YouTube, it's not just a show.
Mhm.
It's something that
Yeah.
you learn from, and then stay
Yes.
connected to your friends
Oo.
also.
Oo nga eh. Yeah. And a very great blessing for us is our families with us.
Yes.
And sabi ko nga, every day I see my kids preparing food and we're enjoying each other's company. Sabi ko, man, this is the best family vacation I've ever had.
Ex-
And, and the lesson I learned is that the beauty of family vacation is that the family stays together. It's not the places you go to, but you can have the best vacation ever, even when you've got no place to go,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I always tell myself that, Francis, this is a once in a lifetime thing that you're
Yes, that's
able
so
to be
true.
with your family, and then, sometimes the conversations that take place, diba? Parang before,
Yes,
you would have no time for that, right? So,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah. And which brings me to another thing. When it comes to family relationship, the most important principle we have to learn now is love your mother-in-law so you will have peace of mind, right? Hanky, I'm so glad because we're beginning to have questions coming in now. And I have Joel Malyari who asks you this question. How do you see the new norm post ECQ in your current business?
Oh, it's really, I mean, one of it is cleanliness or hygiene or health and safety,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
because of the what the virus has put in our minds, like sometimes what I don't like about that is it's creating xenophobia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is
That's true.
something that I we should not think about, right? So,
Right.
but that is these things are safe, and cleanliness is one of the
Yes.
things that is top of mind, especially for our business, right? Is
Yes.
the
Yes.
is the room clean? Are the sheets
Yeah.
laundered properly? Right? Those
Yes.
are the things
Yes.
will be in the mind of the guest.
And these are the things that we usually took for granted, but now they become top of mind now. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
And I have a question from Alexis Manlangit. And the question now says, nice question. What are the other good examples of servant leadership aside from being a good listener and recognizing or revealing your vulnerability?
What are examples of servant leadership?
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Yes.
another example of servant leadership is actually just to is basically he's the best example of them all, like Jesus Christ. Just let's put it this way:
Yes.
he's the best
Right.
example for servant leadership. He is the
Mm-hmm.
gold standard. Let's put it. Yeah, he is the.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. And I remember what he says, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And perfect example. I have a question from one of the most popular names you will ever find, and the name is Anonymous. And this one says, one of the topics talked about in our first PM session was about managing positivity by tempering it with realism. As business owners, we have to be positive leaders. What parameters can we see that would help us know when we're being too positive without being too realistic?
Oh, wow. Very good question. Most popular person in the crowd, Mr. Anonymous.
Yes.
So actually, if wow, that's a good question. You know, I'm a optimist. I've always been an optimist.
Right.
You know, I look at things half full all the time.
Yeah.
But I agree that there is. I look at things also with a dose of realism.
Yes.
But if I were to put it like in a percentage, probably 70% optimism.
Yes.
And then 30% pragmatism.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. As a matter of fact, I'm an eternal optimist like you, but I'm a realistic realist as well because we're in business. I actually frown against motivational cliche na parang you can do it. Sabi ko, parang parang kang basketball coach, last 2 minutes behind 40 points, we will win. Di ba? Medyo malayo yan. We have a very interesting question from Ems Bolaños. Sabi niya, how are you going to guarantee your people that they can have security maybe in their business? Yeah.
So actually yung what we did when ECQ happened was we gave them their salary. We did not we guaranteed their salary up to the end of ECQ. And then that was just the purpose there is to give them certainty in uncertain times. Yeah, but moving forward, Francis, again, but this is where the 70-30 but we have to put in measures also now because it has extended to also think of we have to balance kasi also the survival of the business, di ba? Kasi it's hard na matumba yung negosyo at lahat mawala ng trabaho, di ba? So there is a balance. There is a balance.
Yes. And that's a very honest answer at the same time because this is a time when we really don't know what the future holds, but we have to be very, very careful in dealing with it one day at a time. Here's a very interesting question from, let me take a look. This is James Garcia. Can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader? Maybe someone who has been a mentor to you. Why and how did this person impact your life?
Okay. So there's this guy. I was lucky enough to attend leadership academies outside, in the country. And there's this person that we always who always conducts these leadership academies, and his name is Warren Rustan. He used to be a former NBA player. Also, he's a very, very wise man. He's about in his 80s already, and actually the concepts and then the learnings from him are really profound. And he was the one who also inculcated in me the concept of servant leadership. So his name is Warren Rustan. You can look him up.
What is the most important lesson you learned from this guy that resonated with you and kind of formed you the kind of leader that you are today?
So all of us, it's very simple. All of us are good leaders. Right? All of us are good leaders, but it's not enough to be just a good leader. We have to be a leader for good.
That's great. That's so important, huh? You mentioned that he used to be an NBA player. I'm so happy and delightfully surprised to know that you're actually a Class A tennis player and number 16 in doubles, and you're also one of the co-founder of the Philippine Tennis Academy. And I'm going to ask you one off-track question, and then I'm going to go back to some questions that are being asked. Is who has been your most favorite tennis professional player for all times, and why?
Oh, that's very easy. his name is, I think it's on the list of everybody. His name is, he's the GOAT, right? He's Roger
Yeah,
Federer, diba? So
Federer.
Federer, I mean, he
Yes,
plays he plays with class. He's won sportsmanship awards. He's an epitome of being disciplined and always being at your
yes,
competitive best. Uh,
yes,
Imagine
yes.
at this, he could laos na yan eh. I mean, he's 37.
Oh,
Laos
yes,
na yan, if you think about it. But he was able to extend his career yeah, up
yes,
to today, right? So up to today, he's in the
yes,
upper echelon of sport, of tennis, diba? So I mean,
yes.
there's so many things you can learn about Roger Federer, diba? And he's for me,
I agree.
he is for me the greatest of all time, talaga.
I agree. And when you describe him as a professional tennis player with class, I can certainly assure you he is because of his very expensive watch that he is promoting. Uh, here's here's a question from I hope I got the name right. Michael John Rivera Almonte. What is your advice for small entrepreneurs to make their business more successful?
One of the guiding principles that I have is what I call standing on the shoulders of giants. Um,
That's
and in every industry, there are
mhm.
giants where you can stand
Yeah.
on.
Hmm.
In Yellow Cab kasi before, uh,
Hmm.
there are a lot of giants that we stood on. An
Hmm.
example there would be uh, Coca-Cola, uh,
Hmm.
Snapple at the
Yes.
Snapple. So
Yes.
because when we were doing our marketing, we would we would we would also always use their logo within our, let's say, a promotional material.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and
Yes.
because they knew it, it's not because they knew it. They said yes to it,
Yes.
and because of that, you gain credibility. Oh, your brand is working with, example, Coca-Cola,
Hmm.
or that time another giant that we stood on was this big coffee chain. And
Yeah.
what
Huh?
we did
Yes.
was we opened stores right beside each other.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
so we were
Yeah.
not. I did not own a portion of their. I did not own them. I was not a
Uh-huh.
shareholder, but we saw that
Hmm.
we were aligned and
Hmm.
we had a similar market, and we told them, hey, why don't we just open stores together? So it clicked, and we opened a lot of
Yes.
stores together. At that time, we had about 20 stores that we were beside each other, and
Hmm.
and because of that, we stood on their shoulders, and that's why our
Yes.
brand credibility
Yes.
went up also.
And that's also true. And every big business started small naman eh.
Yes.
And I think one of the most important qualities that entrepreneurs need to know is continuously learn and study and be a lifelong learner. Benchmark your practices with those who have made it, and just that's just the way it is. I have a question from Bell Saint St. Blanco. How do you deal with small enterprises that are slowly dipping down already pre ECQ and just trying to stay afloat? And now with the mall closure, there's not much chance more to regain financially. Thus, business security and employee benefits are at stake. Or can you share your thoughts for situations like this? Because there's plenty of them, I believe.
Yeah. Actually, you're not alone.
Uh-huh.
Whether you say small or small or medium, or even, let's say, the big corporations. Actually, everyone is hurt. Is being
Yes.
affected at this time. No one is exempt. Not even
Hmm.
the most powerful and richest country in the world is exempt from this.
Yes, yes,
So
that's true.
and really, it's we have to do what we have to do. Ako, am I dipping also into my savings, or will I dip into my savings post ECQ? I also
Yeah.
will. I mean, to be
Hmm.
perfectly honest, no. So it's really how strong do you want your business to survive, and how, if you feel that there is a future for the business, then we all have to do what we have to do.
And it is tied up to the next question I'm going to ask you, and this one comes from Sheila Garcia Can, and the question is: with the ongoing ECQ, how far along into the future do you forecast for your business?
I think I mentioned that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to forecast up to December of this year.
Yes, and then leaving a lot of room for pivoting and changing midstream, right?
Yes, and yes, but leave room to pivot or consider other courses of action.
Yes. I have a question. Oh, I love the questions that are coming in. These are very, very good questions. From Krizzia Lynn Gonzales. What are the steps leaders can do to prepare people to bounce back to work?
I think it's mindset. If you, everyone, sometimes even me, I always catch myself, these are what I call dark times, right? I mean, sometimes fear and panic and anxiety can set in, and right. and the most you can do is actually, I think calm was mentioned, diba? We talked about calm.
Yes.
Calm, and trying to be calm because you have family with you. If you're able to stay calm, and if you are able to calm also the people with you, diba? So hopefully that kind of helps with the whole mindset about the whole anxiety thing. So for me, starting with mindset.
Yes, and I appreciate your answer because we are essentially not just leaders in business, we're leaders of our family as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got to be strong for them. And as leaders, we have to lend people our strength. So it's got to start with us also, no? I have a question here from, this one is from Denise Mitchell. Let me see. Denise Mitchell Ilegaspi, what would be your advice to fresh grads who are anxious now, especially with the crisis we're facing as they are to start their career naman?
Just like in business, just being like an entrepreneur, there are always opportunities, right? So even if we think about what's happening today, not all businesses kasi are being affected negatively. There are also businesses that are doing actually quite well. So what industries are they in? So they're in healthcare, they're in providing materials related to healthcare, diba? So it's a matter as a new grad, it's also you have to look at the opportunities around you also.
That's true.
Diba?
That's true. That's
because not everyone is one side of the scale. There's also the other side of the scale. Yung gumagawa ng alcohol, the one that markets them, the one that manufactures them. I mean, there are opportunities in the marketplace pa rin.
Yes. And this reminds me, whenever I'm approached with a question like this for new grads, whether times were normal or during COVID time, I would advise why don't you go there and offer your services for free, even if they don't pay you? Because, when you went to school, you had to pay tuition to learn. And now that you're learning, you don't even have to pay tuition. But the most important challenge for new grads is to build some sort of knowledge and competence, and also a little bit experience that can help you market yourself to some others who are awaiting your service. I have a question from Rachel de Guzman. How do you apply servant leadership in your work set up right now where your people are away from you due to the work from home arrangement? And what do you do as a leader to become a beacon of hope at this time?
So right now we are able to to talk and share over FB
Uh-huh.
Live and over Zoom.
Yes. Right.
So there's
Right.
never been a time where our isolation, there's never, we are so connected, even in isolation,
Yes. Correct.
diba? So
Yes.
there
Correct.
is no,
I agree.
we just have to adapt, diba? Parang you can still
Right.
see facial expressions, whether I'm happy or sad,
Yes.
or my
Right.
body language, whether I'm, that,
Oh, nga
so
eh. Yeah.
you can still see, even if we're not together face to face,
Mm-hmm.
you can still see that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I hope
Yes.
you can still see the, I don't know, the positivity or the, I call it, I call it, I'm trying to share the light also.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
I also to
Yeah.
share.
That's so
So
true. That's so true.
that's what I try to share to my people, diba?
Yes.
And I hope you
Use
can see,
technology.
use technology, diba? That's
Yeah.
that's the new normal, diba?
Oo. Uh, ito rin ang advice ko sa mga tao who are working from home. Eh. Number one, you gotta have to maintain consistent communication with your workmates and your boss as if you were still working in the same regular office.
Yeah.
And this is the most important advice. When you're doing work from home, you pretend as if you're working in an actual office. That's why make sure you are wearing pants, like what I'm doing right now. Mamaya biglang kukuha ka ng kape, wala ka palang suot. Medyo hindi tama yan.
Kaya
I've
hindi ako
got
kumukuha ng kape.
I've got a question from Rafa Fondel. What will you advise those who are in the travel industry who is also really affected by this pandemic? Where do they start? How do they start? Interesting question.
It really depends on which part of the, because it depends on which part of the travel industry are you, diba? Are you in hospitality?
Yes.
Are you a, let's say, a travel agent? Are you
Yeah.
so maybe you can type in your question, maybe you can type in your question again, and then we can, we can try to answer that, like more
Yes.
specific,
Yes.
more specific.
Yes. Yes. Kasi pagka travel medyo very wide yung
It's a
scope,
big,
no?
very siya.
Ito, nakakatuwa. Si Mr. or Miss Anonymous na naman. Sabi na, how do you encourage and practice servant leadership at home? That's a nice question, isn't it?
Di ba part of yung servant leadership kasi is, di ba, serving others, di ba? And
Yes,
really,
yes.
for me, yung when the lockdown started, me and my family,
Yes.
we sat down and do
Yes.
our objectives, di ba?
Mm-mm.
Our objectives in terms of what we wanted to achieve, what
Yes.
we wanted to achieve in this lockdown, di ba? So
Right.
for me, my way of doing servant leadership is I wanted to ensure that my daughters would come out of these better versions of themselves. So
It's a
I
good
would check
point.
up on them regularly in terms of, ano ba yung ginagawa ninyo?
Mm-mm.
Kaysa puro video games lang, or
Oo.
So my daughter wanted to learn Japanese, di ba? So under
Wow.
Duolingo. So
Oo.
anong level ka na, di ba? Anong yung there's like categories na umaakyat, di ba? So
Yes.
proving, di ba? What are you doing now, di ba? So
Oo. That's great. Yeah. And there has been cases wherein during the lockdown, people who keep themselves productive and they read good materials and they they somehow stumble upon a new skill, a new information, a new knowledge that can propel them to the next level naman eh. And so part of servant leadership is to para tayong conductor ng orchestra. We will lead them, play their music, and then bring the whole harmony together and to make them better versions of themselves. I like that one. We have a question from Rafa Solfonbel. This is it. We are a new travel agency kasi. What will you advise those who are in the travel industry who is also greatly affected by this pandemic? Where do they start? How do they start? Travel agency pala to.
So it's about it's like I think I mentioned a while ago about us also looking for new target markets, diba? So as a travel
Yes.
agency, so it's
Uh,
so there again there are opportunities there, diba? So we were able to find, let's say on our end, we were able to find BPOs who stayed in our property, and then government offices who wanted to stay near, their government departments of government who wanted to stay near their offices. And then there's
Yes.
also these OFWs who came home, so if you were let's say a travel agency, then you can look for them, and then match them with the hotels, because not all hotels are full now. Not all hotels are also open, and they're also look like us, looking for revenue, diba?
Yes.
So you can
Yes.
you can change your demographic. Maybe before you were inbound, yung clients mo were
Uh-huh.
inbound, diba?
Yes.
So
Yes.
maybe now
Yes.
you can look at these target markets and match them together with hotels, because there is a need. There is a need.
Yeah. So para bang ano, no, during these times of great challenges and difficulty, there is not another time in the world that's more important than now to be creative, and to explore other opportunities.
Creative, I think innovate also, diba?
Yes.
Adapt,
Mm-hmm.
be open, diba? Be
Yeah.
open.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's so true.
there's no
Yeah.
other there's no other time, Francis. You're right, diba?
Yeah, that's so true. I just wrote an article for my column in the Philippine Star recently, and I said I've always been asked this question: This COVID-19, does this force us to change? I said because of this COVID-19, we don't change, but this COVID-19 has enforced its changes upon us. I'll give you one good example, which is a connection with the next question. Sabi nga na, the age-old debate about working from home, di ba? Matagal na dinidebate yan eh. Are we gonna allow our people to work from home? Are they gonna be productive? Now it's become moot and academic. Secondly, before all this COVID-19 issue came up, the biggest issue in the corporate business was, should we go digital or not? What about digital transformation? Because of this, every company now has been forced to do digital transformation. And that's what's happening. And Benjamin Fabre has a question. Most businesses today are practicing work from home. All of us now discover its benefits both to employee and employer. As a leader, would you prefer to continue this kind of setup?
Again, it's a brave new world out there, right? If you're
Mm-hmm.
able to become still productive and
Mm-hmm.
work efficiently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And perform according to what is expected of us, expected of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
why not, diba?
Yes,
Again, like
that's
what
true.
Francis
That's
said,
true.
the virus has forced things upon us, diba? Na
Yeah.
dati usap-usap lang
Mm-hmm.
yun eh, work from home, work from home. Ngayon, no choice.
I remember one time talking with our presidential PA for business, Joey Concepcion, and we went live and he was teasing me. He says, alam mo, before yung COVID, ang hirap makakuha ng schedule kay Francis, tsaka ang mahal-mahal niya. No? Ngayon, he has all the time in the world. Not actually. As a matter of fact, I've been very busy. I've been doing webinars for clients, doing shout out. My daughter boss is saying, Dad, ano ba yan? Before COVID, my life was a little bit more normal. Now I'm working more than I wish things will go back to normal.
For free.
Oh, yeah. And so things are really changing. I have a question from Anonymous, and this one is very important. There's news coming out that a lot of our OFWs will come home soon with how uncertain with how uncertain the economy is and how difficult business is. What advice can you give our OFWs?
Wow, baka we have to pass that question off to Joey Concepcion.
That's true. Oo nga naman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. No, very
That's tough.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur. I don't work in
Yeah.
government.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can see is that our government is really doing their darnest best to be able to help cope with this situation. They're not doing enough, of course. They're not. This is unprecedented. In my talks abroad, when I talk to our kabayans in the different OFW communities, I'd like them to take a longer view. This is affecting everyone, and this is going to be difficult. We cannot pretend it won't be. But just like you in your entrepreneurial endeavors, you take a long view also. Things are going to improve, although things are going to be different. It's the same thing. What gives me security and stability is that the whole world needs. There's the senior aging population in the whole world. Other people need the warmth and the innate characteristics of Filipino to do work. And I think we will have to bear with some temporary inconveniences and hardship with brain. Everybody will have to sacrifice a little bit, but I still do have hope that things are going to turn out to be better. We have a question from Luis Ponyo. What would be the role of the business owners regarding the safety of its employees once the ECQ has been lifted?
I think that answer is really you have to take care of your employees. Diba? I mean,
yes.
even if there's no ECQ, you have to take care of your employees. Diba?
Right.
So ensure that they're paid well, they're paid on time, that they're able to also learn from their jobs. They're also able to contribute. So, and now it adds another layer, right? Meaning,
yes.
How can we also take care of them this time in terms of health? But ensure that don't get sick.
Yes. Which also reminds me that we're working from home. A marketing guru that I happen to know and respect, internationally known, his name is Martin Lindstrom. He says there are changes in human behavior now. And then he says something which I'm going to share with everybody listening into this program. While we're working from home, this is what he calls stop mindless munching. In other words, when we are a little bit pressured and when there's worry and fear, our mind wants dopamine, and we tend to take in a lot of junk food and snacks, and that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good for us in the future. So we have to stay healthy, exercise, eat right, enjoy home cooked food, and boost up our immune system at the same time. I have this question from Marlon Perilla. What are your guiding principles in deciding if you are going to pursue in venturing to a new business to measure if it's worthy of taking a shot at it? What would be the signs that would say, pwede akong pumasok dito, I guess. That's what his question would be.
It's really identifying an opportunity. For me, I'm not sure if the question is from my business to another business, or maybe venturing into a business that you wanted to do in the first place.
Yes.
If it's the latter, it's really again identifying that gap in the marketplace, spotting opportunities in there are, and then just taking the leap of faith and jumping, because that's entrepreneurs are like that. Diba?
Yeah, that's so true.
You are in charge of your own destiny kasi as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I've always been asked this question. So how do I get into business? And I usually turn the table around and ask a question. What is your understanding of business anyway? Now, we have been trained, and since our younger days, by textbooks and also by professors, that the primary purpose of doing business is to make a profit. That is an outcome. But listening from you and the advice and the experiences you had, actually, business is all about identifying needs. And when we're able to provide a solution for those problems and needs, and we know how to do it well, profit becomes an outcome, but it's not the primary source, because it's going to pull you into a wrong direction. Would you agree with that observation, Artie? Yeah, Hanky.
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. It's identifying needs, diba? Because if
Yeah.
that's why it's a need, diba? So because there's
Mm-mm.
a need, then you have a natural market for that.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I have we're down to last two questions now. One is from Nikki Uy. This is a follow up in the travel retail. How about in travel retail who are dependent on the frequency of flights? How do we cope if that's our business? Would like to share your thoughts on this?
Wow, those are those are that's a tough question also because airlines are also uh, imagine from so many flights a day, hundreds of
Mm-hmm.
flights a day to zero flights a day, right?
Yeah.
I
Uh-oh.
that's actually it's tough. I don't know the answer there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
Francis, you have something, but for me, that's a tough, especially in the airline industry. Um,
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's tough. Uh, both the major airlines are my clients as well. And if you take a look at it, there's going to be a very extensive scaling down of the flights, but the flights are going to be there. The idea here now is that in the future, what we're going to be facing is what we call essential travels. But then it's going to pick up pa rin. Well, we just hope that the vaccine will come out, things are going to settle in the future, but it's going to take time. So very tough too. And I just want to also greet, Hanky, there are so many people following us right now. Well, number one, I'm not familiar. If you're familiar with this one, it's called the Henry Hotel Cebu family.
yeah, I
They're
told them I was
following.
going on.
Oh, you would know them now. So, hey guys, your boss is working, all right? And and I'd like also to greet Bill Tan, our HR team of Ayala Land Hotels and Resorts. And, Ali has been my client as well. I'm going to be doing a shout out for them pretty soon. And, one last question. Uh, before I go to the last question, I just want to thank you, Hanky, because you are so accommodating, you're so kind, and you're so generous with the ideas. And I hope you're enjoying this one as well, huh?
I am. I'm
Hey,
grateful. I'm grateful,
thank
Francis.
you. So here's the question from Tetsuya Balaga. What do you think is the greatest difference of the current entrepreneurs and the older generation entrepreneurs? Any advice to the young entrepreneurs these days?
My feeling is there is no difference between the old entrepreneurs. The
Hmm.
are you? I don't know if they're. I don't know if they're talking about the Taipans or not. No. But
Yeah.
for me, the times now, kasi because the attitudes or skills are of entrepreneurs before and entrepreneurs now, I think are the same. You need grit, you need determination, you need commitment, you need
Yeah.
vision, you need
Uh-huh.
leadership. Um,
Uh-huh.
they're all the same. Uh, but
Yeah.
feeling ko lang now, it's I think easier to become an entrepreneur because of technology.
Mhm.
Technology has made
Correct.
it so easy. Example, I'll give an example for, let's say, the Henry Hotel. If
Yes.
you think about it, we're just we are a Filipino brand. We are
Yes.
located
Yes.
in Manila, like what if you were here earlier, what in Manila, in
Yeah.
a side street. If you think about it, diba?
Yes.
We're in a side street.
Yes.
But
Yes.
because of technology, there
Yeah.
are things called the OTAs, the online travel agents.
Yeah.
Because of technology, we
Uh-huh.
again I use that standing on the shoulders of giants. We stood on
Yeah.
their shoulders, right? And because
Hmm.
of that, the day we opened, more or less the whole world knew that we were a hotel in Manila,
Right.
in that location.
Right. Uh-uh.
So now that's our leg up on, let's say the other, the well the the previous, not the previous generation of entrepreneurs, right? Because we have technology, and technology is an enabler, just like
Yes.
what's happening now, on FB Live. Technology
Yeah.
is an
Mm-hmm.
enabler. We are able to
Mm-hmm.
learn and
Yes.
share
Yes.
even while on in our homes.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. And my personal experience, because I do give some personal and business advice to the old generation as well as the young. I will always tell the older generations of entrepreneurs, you have to make it a must to understand the behaviors of the young now, because the metrics of productivity before and now may not necessarily be the same. I had one billionaire entrepreneur who says, alam mo, pare, ang problema sa mga bata ngayon, they're so lazy. I said, why? I mean, during our time, sabi ko, teka muna, pati ako sinasama sa age group niya because he's a lot older than me. And he says, alam mo pare, during our time, 9 o'clock pa lang opisina, 7:30 nandun na tayo, 6 o'clock ang uwian, 8:30 nandun pa tayo. Eh ngayon, yung mga anak kong entrepreneur, ang tatamad. Sabi ko, bakit naman po? Sabi niya, isipin mo, 10:30 na, tulog pa, 11, tulog pa. So sabi ko sa kanya, so that means you equate productivity with visibility in the office, right? Sabi niya, hindi pa ganun yon. Sabi ko, hindi po eh. Kasi kahit na nasa opisina sila, Netflix naman sila ng Netflix, hindi sila productive. But there was a time, but you got to ask yourself this question, yung mga batang entrepreneurs ngayon, bakit late sila pumasok sa trabaho o kaya late sila pumasok? That means late sila matulog. Sabi ko, nagka-clubbing ba madalas yan? Hindi naman. Sabi ko, here's the basic difference. Nung araw, we have to go to the physical office to be able to work. Now, they bring their office with them. Next, kaya nga late magising kasi they work all the way until 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the early morning. They're even more productive that way. Why? It's quiet and the internet signal is stronger. Hindi mo nakikita yan kasi sa edad natin yan, 8:30 pa lang tulog na tayo. And finally, I said, we have, as old entrepreneurs, understand the behavior of the new and to understand that technology changes everything. But apart from that, you're right. The grit, the resiliency, the determination, the continuous learning should always be there. Ang bilis ng oras. I just want to share with you, when I take a look at your past experience in the food business, and now that you are with the Henry Hotels, there's not much difference. Why? When I was with Yellow Cab, sabi ko, grabe, the products, the interior, the decor, the concept was so creatively done. Here's the common denominator. And I'm telling you this. When you go to a Henry Hotel now, as I have, the products, the interior, the decor, the concept, the service, they are still creatively done. That's the common thing that I see that makes you so successful. And that's why I just want to say this before I let you go, that if you've never been to a Henry Hotel, I think you should, as I have. And the fact is, if I was there now, I wouldn't mind being locked down inside one of your hotels, Hanky.
Yeah, you would enjoy. Yeah, you would enjoy.
Thank you. So I want to thank you for gracing our occasion today in our session.
It's
And
an honor. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you. I just want to announce also to everybody that you have so generously offered your service to be one of the mentors for Pocket Mentor also. We need all the expertise we can get from people like you. And I want to close by telling our viewers, you got to watch out for our next session again next Wednesday. And if you have topics which you would want us to tackle, please do send them to us, suggest to us, and we'll try to see what we can do about it because we're here for you. And so I guess with those words, and I hope to meet you in person now, not just through the screen, because I'm sure I'm going to be learning a lot more from you the next time we meet. And
I'd love to
just
learn from you, Francis.
thank you, thank you. So, in behalf of everybody from Pocket Mentor, I want to thank you for gracing this occasion, and for the viewers and listeners out there, thank you very much for your questions. Thank you for tuning in. Until the next episode next week. Marami pong salamat and God bless you.